Hello everyone, welcome back to the 2018 Granny Square Crochet Along. Today we are making this gorgeous double chevron square. It is a beauty and the way it's worked up is so clever, so clever. The front, as you can see, has this raised texture, and the back has also a texture of these kind of ridges from where we've done our front and back post stitches. It might look complicated, and if you see the chart or the pattern, you might think, oh my gosh, which I did. But it just takes a few moments of just looking carefully and getting on with it. And you've got the added bonus that I'm looking at the pattern and you're just following me, so I'm the one that has to decipher all that's going on with the pattern, not you. It is a great pattern, and the chart's just great too. So don't worry about this. We're going to work it through together. I'm going to take you through stitch by stitch on each of the rows until we get a repeat. I don't tell you to continue the row. I am taking you through stitch by stitch on the rows until we get to repeating, and then you'll be rewinding to follow through with the rest. So grab a hook, grab some yarn and maybe a tea or coffee, and let's get started. Okay, so to start this chevron square, we need to chain 26 and then make 25 single crochets, starting in the second chain along from the hook. So that first chain will just be this little turning chain here at the end. So chain 26 and then start in the second chain and do 25 single crochets. Okay, just pausing there a moment to give you a chance to pause and do this row. Okay, and now we're going to skip a single crochet. So this one here next to our post is where we've just used that stitch for the post. So going to the next, so we're going to skip the next one. Okay, so we're skipping this one here next to, and then we're going to go into the next one along. So you basically skipping two. It looks a bit like you're skipping two, but one is where our post comes from. Then one empty, and then you're going to go into the next one and do a double crochet. Oops, if I can get under there. See, this is the easy stitch and this is being difficult. Crazy yarn. Okay, and then you want to do 4 more double crochet along, 1 in each stitch. So you should have 5 in the end. Oops. 1, 2, 3, 4. You need 5 altogether. Oops. Having one of those days today. So 5 altogether. Okay, and then we're going to do this stitch formation again that we did here. So we're going to go, the next one is going to be, we're going to skip a stitch, and then the next one we're doing a front post double crochet. So yarn over, go into the stitch to the right, and then back through, and there's your front post. Okay, and then the next stitch you're going to do a front post, so go into that stitch that we've just come from, and then behind into the next stitch. That post is at the front, and do your double crochet, and then into that very same stitch. So you've got your post coming up here, and then your stitch is this just behind. You want to do 2 double crochet into there. Okay, and then skip a stitch, and in the next stitch you want to do a double crochet, and again you want to do 4 more along, so that you have 5 double crochet in total. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 double crochet, and we're going to do this stitch formation once more. So skip the next stitch. In the next one, do that front post, so go into the skip stitch and behind and through and complete your double crochet. And then into the next one, you're going to do a front post double crochet, just as we've done before. Oops. And 2 more double crochet into that same stitch. A front post double crochet in the next stitch, so you need to go into the one that you've just come from and behind and through, and then a double crochet into the next stitch. And why have I got 2 spare? Let me see what I've done wrong. Okay, so we are on to row 2 now. Now this is just a little tip for you. I'm in a different place recording and I don't have a pen and paper to hand. So to keep me on track as to where what row I'm on, I am near our games cupboard, so I just grabbed a dice out to mark that I'm on row 2. So if you don't have a pen and paper and you have a dice, then use a dice to see what row you're on. So we're on row 2 now. Just so I can keep a track of where we are. Okay, so for row 2, you're going to chain 2 and turn your work around. Now we're going to do some front post stitches, which are a bit tricky on single crochets, but this is probably the most tricky row. So once this row's done, the rest will be a fair bit easier. A fair bit. Okay, so we're going to do a front post double crochet around the second single crochet. Okay, but it's this post here. So this first stitch, the chain's coming from. This second stitch, we want this post just here. So yarn over, and then we're going to go from the front under that first stitch and then behind the second and through. So we're coming through the second stitch and it's brought this post to the front, as in front post, and then complete your double crochet just like so. Okay, and then the next stitch we're going to do a front post double crochet. So again, yarn over. This time we're going to go in to the second stitch and then come back through the third stitch, the one that we're going to use, bringing this post that we want to the front, and complete your double crochet. Okay, and then in that same stitch, so if you look, you've got your double crochet, your single crochet coming to the side of your post, and that's the stitch you want. Okay, the one where your post is here and your single crochet is there. Okay, into there you want to do 2 double crochet. This pattern is all double crochets actually, apart from the chains at the start. So if I ever say 1 stitch, then you know it's a double crochet if I forget to say. Okay, so we've got our front post and 2 double crochets. Then the next stitch, you want to do a front post double crochet. So go into the stitch you've just used, behind and through that next stitch, bringing that post to the front, and complete your double crochet. Okay, and now you're going to skip a stitch. So skip this next stitch, and then you want to do 5 double crochets along, 1 in each of the next 5. Okay, there we go. And now we're going to skip another stitch, and we're going to do this stitch formation once again. So skip a stitch, make sure it's not this one here, skip a stitch, and then in the next one you're going to do a front post double crochet, so go into your skipped stitch, behind and through the stitch you want next, and complete your double crochet. And then you're going to do a front post the next stitch, so make sure you know where this front post is coming from. It's coming from this very stitch here. Okay, so don't go into that one. Well, you want to go into that one and through behind the post of the next one and do your stitch, and then 2 double crochets into that same stitch. So find your single crochet at the back there and do 2 double crochets into there. Okay, and then you want to do a front post double crochet for this next stitch, so go into that stitch you just used, behind and through to do your front post, and then you're going to skip a stitch. So remember, this one here is where your stitch is coming from, so you're going to skip this next one and then use the next one along, and you're going to do 5 double crochets along, 1 in each of the next 5 stitches. There you go. And then you're going to skip the next stitch, and in the next stitch you're going to do a front post, so go into that skip stitch, behind and through, and complete your double crochet. And then you're going to do a front post double crochet in the next stitch, in, behind and through, 2 double crochet into that same stitch, a front post double crochet for the next one, so go into that stitch we just used and behind, do your front post, and then in your last stitch a double crochet. Now if, like me on my first try of this, if you have more than 1 stitch left, there are a couple of reasons, a couple of possibilities. One could be that you haven't counted your stitches correctly along here. You might have more than 25. And the other is that you might not have skipped the single crochets correctly. Okay, so just have a count of your stitches below if you don't, if you have any left over, and just double check that. Okay, so there's our row 2. So in true fashion for today, we're going to move on to row 3.